From compliance to competitive edge, why ESG will decide who wins in hospitality. 30 years in hotels has taught me that real change rarely comes from a glossy campaign. It comes from choices that compound. The linen program that saves water without denting guest satisfaction. The chef who swaps an air-freighted staple for a local hero ingredient. The board that asks for sustainability data with the same seriousness as financial results. That is the real work. That is ESG made practical. Climate change is not a distant headline for our sector. It is here, shaping costs, supply chains, and guest behaviour. Recent analyses indicate that the last calendar year likely ran more than 1.5 degrees above the pre-industrial average, and that sea level rise and ocean warming will not reverse quickly. At the same time, momentum is building. More than 40% of global electricity now comes from low-carbon sources, and solar generation has overtaken coal across the European Union. Hospitality carries weight in this story. Our industry was estimated to account for about 3% of global emissions in 2022, which means we can move the needle if we act with intent. There is also a clear people dividend. Research in our market shows that sustainability is now a factor in whether people stay. More than 3/4 of hospitality staff say they are more likely to remain with an employer that makes a positive environmental impact. Corporate clients are setting targets of their own and expect their hotel partners to help them meet those goals. The direction is obvious. The question is whether your business is moving fast enough. What ESG really means in a hotel. ESG is not a project. It is how you run the place. Environmental choices show up in energy, water, building fabric, transport, and food. Social choices show up in pay, safety, development, community links, and supplier labor practices. Governance choices show up in how decisions are made and disclosed, how data is protected, and how leaders are held to account. In practice, this looks like kitchens built around seasonal and local supply, rather than long-haul imports. Guest rooms and back-of-house spaces with intelligent controls that reduce consumption when areas are empty. Housekeeping standards that protect both service and water use. Menus and minibars that make sustainable options visible and attractive rather than a worthy footnote. It also looks like clear pay frameworks, secure contracts, real pathways from entry level to leadership, and a transparent approach to diversity data. Finally, it looks like board-level stewardship with measurable targets, honest disclosures, and a plain English narrative that teams and guests can believe. The business case you can take to the board. This is not only about doing the right thing, it is about winning. On revenue, guests and corporate buyers are choosing brands that can show credible progress. On cost, energy efficiency, food waste reduction, and better procurement save real money. On talent, a visible commitment to sustainability improves attraction and retention. On capital, investor conversations increasingly test climate risk, supply chain standards, and governance maturity. The prize is growth, loyalty, and lower risk. The penalty for delay is rising cost and falling relevance. The rules that matter now and the rules that are coming. Even without a single mandatory ESG law, the reporting web is tightening. The Companies Act already requires disclosure on environmental performance, human rights, community involvement, and diversity. The Climate Change Act sets binding emissions targets. The Modern Slavery Act demands supply chain transparency. Energy and carbon disclosures sit under ESOS and SECR. UK sustainability reporting standards are in development and could land for listed companies as early as 2026. If you trade across the EU, CSRD and the Due Diligence Directive will shape how and what you report. Investors and clients increasingly reference TCFD and GRI. All of this points in one direction: more transparency, better data, fewer excuses. Scope 3 and the supplier conversation. Most hospitality brands have a large supply chain footprint. Food, beverages, laundry, amenities, uniforms, waste handling, and logistics all sit in Scope 3. The aim is not to punish suppliers, but to raise the standard together. Ask for their plans, support pilots, and co-design products that are better for the planet and better for operations. Look at total value over time rather than the narrowest unit price. Procurement that chases only the cheapest item often costs more once waste, transport, failure rates, and reputational risk are included. There is also policy noise around packaging and producer responsibility. Rather than get stuck in the politics, stay practical. Map where your glass, plastics, and paper actually go. Reduce, refill, and redesign first. Recycle well as a baseline, not a badge of honor. Case in point 1. London property demonstrated how sustainability can enhance the guest experience and the brand in the same move. A fully vegan suite with plant-based materials, low-impact finishes, and a matching food and beverage offer drove meaningful press coverage and stronger year-on-year occupancy during the launch period. The lesson is not to copy the theme. The lesson is to connect sustainability choices to a memorable experience that guests talk about and choose to buy. Engage everyone and make it routine. From chief executives to night porters, everyone has a role. Not every business can hire a dedicated sustainability manager today, and that is fine. You can still create a cross-functional steering group, meet monthly with a clear agenda and action plan, and bake ESG into performance reviews. Make the work visible. Plant native species in underused outdoor space. Track food waste and celebrate reductions. Share a simple dashboard in back-of-house corridors. Bring new starters into the story at induction so expectations are clear from day one. Build investor-grade reporting without losing momentum. Perfection is not required to start. Credibility grows when you measure what matters, correct what does not add up, and report progress without spin. Use recognized frameworks where they help, but do not drown in them. A few metrics tracked well across every property will beat a long list that nobody trusts. 3 data habits separate the leaders from the rest. Measure with intent. Meter energy at a level that allows action. Track water use by area. Weigh food waste. Record team turnover and internal progression properly. Verify the numbers that matter. Independent checks for energy, emissions, and waste help you avoid mistakes and protect against greenwashing. Publish and learn. Share the baseline, the trajectory, and the next 3 moves. Invite challenge. 6 moves to make in the next 90 days. Run a focused energy and water audit across 3 high-use areas. Fix the top 5 inefficiencies within 1 quarter. Set a food waste baseline by station. Introduce simple tracking and weekly reviews in the kitchen. Reset your linen and amenities policy to reduce resource use without denting guest satisfaction. Train teams and test the guest messaging in 2 room types before scaling. Map your top 10 suppliers by spend and by impact. Hold a round table to agree shared goals, pilot projects, and timelines. Establish a monthly ESG forum. Invite a voice from each department. Keep minutes, assign actions, and report progress to the board. Publish a 1-page ESG snapshot on your website. Keep it real, measurable, and free of marketing fluff. The leadership conversations that change outcomes. Some dialogues shift culture faster than any policy. Use this short agenda in your next executive meeting. In a nutshell, ESG has moved from a talking point to a test of fitness for the future. The climate signals are getting louder, regulation is tightening, and investor expectations are rising. Guests are choosing with values as well as wallets. Colleagues want to work where the work matters.